colorful day for baseball here at Shea Stadium on the final day of the 2005 campaign, and that will be a footnote to what else takes place here today as Mike Piazza wraps up, in all likelihood, his time with the New York Mets. All right, the Mets are looking for their 84th victory of the season as we take a look at the Geico National League East standings. Our mound matchup today brought to you by Valero. It'll be Victor Zambrano looking for his 8th win of the season as the Mets look to complete a sweep of the Colorado Rockies. Mike Piazza has worn the New York Mets uniform with distinction since the middle of the 1998 season, and it has been a time well enjoyed by both Piazza and the fans. But all good things come to an end, and the packing crates are ready not only for the end of this season, but as I mentioned a moment ago, in all likelihood, Mike Piazza has played his final game after today as a New York Met as he moves on to another team and begins the final phase of his career. We'll detail throughout the day what he has meant to the New York Mets. Hi everybody, I'm Matt Loughlin. Thanks very much for joining us here on FSN New York. This is the final edition of Geico Mets on Deck for the 2005 campaign. And indeed, if you're a Mets fan watching today's game, you have your own special Mike Piazza moment. Back in the middle part of the 90s, the team was a moribund franchise, seemingly going nowhere, making free agent signings that turned out to be disastrous. And then the rumor began that the Los Angeles Dodgers were looking to trade him. The Florida Marlins wound up acquiring Mike Piazza. That truly was just a stop along the way. Then the rumors really built. Would the Mets be involved? Would the New York Mets acquire this superstar catcher? And indeed they did. On a Friday afternoon, which meant his debut was Saturday, May 23rd, 1998, Mike Piazza stepped into the Mets dugout and out onto the field in a New York Mets uniform. Bobby Valentine, the manager, then getting acquainted with the man that he would pencil in the cleanup spot, and why not? One of the most feared power hitters in the game, perhaps the greatest hitting catcher of all time. And on that day, before a most appreciative crowd, Mike Piazza delivered that extra base hit, and his time with the Mets was underway. Now, this is just a few hours ago. Mike Piazza left the chapel service here at Shea Stadium, a smile on his face, greeted by people who are along the corridor near the Mets dugout, near the Mets clubhouse, and he walks in and gets ready for today's game. He'll be in the lineup as the Mets wrap up this 2005 campaign and say goodbye to Mike Piazza, who was a 62nd round draft pick, more than unknown, back in 1988. But in between, he's played 1,700 plus games, nearly 400 home runs, 1,500 games caught, and with the Mets, those 8 seasons, nearly 1,000 games, over 1,000 hits, 220 home runs, many of them most memorable indeed, and he has left a lasting impression on the Mets. Tom Seaver may be the franchise, but Mike Piazza is the greatest position player the Mets have put out, a player in his prime who was devastating. The fans have come out in droves to say goodbye to Mike Piazza. We have much more to do here on Geico Mets on Deck, including a talk with Mike as he reflects on his time in New York.